Now, I went there because his new book's out. We're going to get into that, get into the economy. He was on like 4 years ago with us. Everybody knows who Robert Kiyosaki is, the mega million best time seller, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, successful entrepreneur, owns mines all over the world and factories. I mean, he's a true entrepreneur. And anyone who's been an entrepreneur knows that's the heart of everything. So they demonize entrepreneurship. Like Obama said, if you have a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else built that. So when Kiyosaki speaks with us the next 50 minutes, this is not Kiyosaki. This is the state speaking. And Cuomo has come out and said, I have the quote here, we played the clip earlier, that our rights do not come from God, they come from the state. Well, we say God even if you're an atheist so that the state doesn't become God. Duh, put something above the state. The individual's above the state here. So when we get down to it, we're saying we are God. That ought to make you Satanists happy. But you can't even get that, can you? You do not. The state must be God. So I wanted to bring up real discrimination with Robert Kiyosaki. Throw him a curveball first. Best known for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, #1 personal finance book of all time. Kiyosaki has challenged and changed the way tens of millions of people around the world think about money. He's an entrepreneur, educator, investor who believes in a world needs more entrepreneurs. And he's got a new book out, The Second Chance for Your Money, Your Life, and Your World. Just came out this month. It's already a bestseller at richdad.com, richdad.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. What do you think about them trying to label things that obviously aren't racist as racist to divert, or do you disagree with me, from all the real discrimination that's going on inside government and by the governing class and those that are allied with them? I see this as causing a major trend of lawlessness as people...
But I'm going, hey, I'm just here to find out. But it was so tense. You know, there was a little woman, she was about probably 80 years old. The war vets went to her farm in Zimbabwe and kicked her off. And I saw this little lady, she comes up to me and she says, you know, they're just screaming at me in Afrikaans, which I don't speak. But it was just the futility. After 400 years, she and her husband lose the farm their parents gave to them. And I don't know if that's going to happen here, but it's frightening. The thing I did find out in Zimbabwe was what kind of triggered the collapse of the Zimbabwe dollar was a thing called retirement pensions.
That's right.
And the U.S. is sitting at the same precarious position right now.
Wasn't it government pensions?
Any kind of pension.
Yeah. With
millions of people counting on the government pension to keep them alive when they retire. That's what I'm afraid of. That's why after talking to Harry Dent, I was depressed. And I'm upset.
When we come back, we're going to get into your new book and other world events taking place. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is our guest. You go to his website. Ladies and gentlemen, it's got a lot of powerful information, richdad.com. And we got to get this guy back more often than every 4 years. I only get him on every few months. And we'll also open the phones up. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the other side. 800-259-9231. We're For Your Money, For Your Life, and For Our World is the new book. And he is joining us right now. It's 8 lessons in military leadership for entrepreneurs. I want you to talk about your book and any other issues you want to get to, and then I want to take a few phone calls, Robert.
Yeah, first of all, 8 Lessons of Military Leadership is a book coming out in a couple of months.
Well, I can't wait to read that one, too.
Yeah, and Second Chance is about where we are today. And people may need to change some of the things they're doing. If I could mention Second Chance, if I show it up to you, I love what you do because you give people like me, people with a different point of view, a chance to speak, versus what happens on television a lot of times. They'll put one person with one point of view and a person with another point of view, and they yell at each other. And we learn nothing.
The plan is to teach us how to fight with each other and never actually come together.
Yeah. So I appreciate what you do, and I agree with you. You know, cash has only one thing: it's to put fuel in your tank, and to keep your business going, keep your programs going, and support, you know, people and messages you like. So I agree wholeheartedly with you. The reason I wrote Second Chance is because of all the confusion. So if I could be bold and show you a picture from the book here, what you'll see here are pictures. And although it's a very big book, the reason I made it in pictures is so that you didn't have to listen to the people yelling back and forth. Also, what happens for many people is when they read economic terms, they get confused. So Second Chance, part 1 especially, is everything's in pictures. So a 10-year-old kid could read it, an adult could read it, and the best thing about it is parent and adult, or old guys and young guys, could discuss the pictures rather than get confused about all the economic jargon that's thrown out there, like what is the GDP versus NDA and all this stuff. It's just pictures. So when you have a second chance about pictures, you can explain to your family, your kids, by pointing, because your kids will probably not read it, but they can see the pictures. And I think that's what makes the book different. Like, I'm not pushing an agenda. When you see, like I said, in 1971, 72, when I was in Vietnam, I went, oh my God, I better wake up. Something's happening here. And that's when Nixon took us off the gold standard. And if you know what happened, we started printing, and the biggest boom in history ever took off. We have never been this high. 17,000 Dow. Then in 1978, this was all in pictures and second chance. In 1978, the 401k came out. And basically what that was, the 401k was, the big corporations were saying to the little employees, hey, you're on your own, dude. If you run out of money when you retire, it's no longer our problem. So when you see the 401k from that perspective, like it's the other side of the coin, and you look at the pictures, then you can start making different decisions for you, your family, and your life.
What do you make by the big banking cartels worldwide, and now they're floating it here at the State of the Union, the government, quote, taking over private 401ks and education 401ks to, quote, protect them, but throwing in class envy that these are, lazy trust fund kids when they average things like $25,000. I mean, that's really scary when they start sniffing around the pension funds, the private pension funds. And that's what we're talking about here.
And healthcare.
Yeah.
The whole thing. You talked about socialism versus capitalism. I was a Marine. I fought for capitalism. I didn't fight for socialism. When people say, what happened to the American dream? The American dream has gone to the entitlement mentality. And I look at all our senators and congressmen and presidents, they all expect the government to take care of them. And what's going to happen, if I'm correct, in 2016, and the whole stock market house of cards comes down, that means everybody who's counting on the government or the IRA or their 401k, they may be up the creek without a paddle. So that's why I started the Rich Dad Company back in 1997.
What do you recommend? I can't wait because I haven't bought your book yet. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read it because I need to get my act together. I mean, I'm always learning more. I can't wait, though, till the other book comes out, 8 Lessons in Military Leadership for Entrepreneurs. Give us a sneak peek on that.
Well, it's about, we have a high number of veterans who are unemployed. I mean, they're homeless, a lot of them. What I'm saying is that the military gave them some of the best training to become entrepreneurs, not employees. And they gave them such things as, unity, courage,
initiative,
skills. And so most of our veterans are actually natural entrepreneurs, except when they come back from the war, they're trying to fit into the corporate world, and a lot of them just don't fit. So 8 Lessons for Military Leadership is about how every military person, from the lowest private to the general, are already good entrepreneurs because they have great training.
Flesh that out a bit, then I want to take some calls because it is fascinating. I found vets do real good in my operation because I just say, here's the mission, have integrity, report news, have an open bias of telling the truth, and from a perspective of freedom, get out there. We want people to really dominate and break big stories. And I found people like Joe Biggs, they just get out there. They get it. They have a mission. I turn them loose.
Yeah. Like when I was, I was a Marine pilot, I flew the helicopter gunship. And if my major came down to me and says, hey, Lieutenant, take out that machine gun nest, you didn't say, well, I don't feel like it. I mean, you did it or died. I mean, that is how Marines and most military people are trained.
What type of gunship? Was it a Cobra or what was it?
Both. I flew the Huey gunship and the Cobra gunship.
Wow, I'd like to have you on about that. That's interesting.
I really loved it. But anyway, that's why military personnel are trained to be entrepreneurs. They're going to get the job done. And that's why the Marines had so many problems in Fallujah. Not to berate my brother in the Army, but the Marines took Fallujah, and then the Army went back in. They lost it, and Marines went back in. But a lot of my friends were brought up on court-martialed because they did the job. They killed people. And I hate to say that, but that's what Marines are trained to do.
Yeah, what about political correctness in the military? I mean, you know, I'm against those wars, but once they're there, you know, they're going to court-martial people because you're getting shot at from a house, they shoot the house up, and then they shoot a civilian. I mean, you can't blame the individual, in my view. I'm sorry.
It's disgusting. My friend is a 3-star general, and he has to be politically correct. You know, he's my roommate in Vietnam, and he says, I cannot say what I want to say because it looks bad upon the Marine Corps. And when your generals are not allowed to speak, we have a serious political correctness problem, and it's sad. Look, ISIS is actually doing us a big favor right now. They're really upsetting the whole world. You know, if they actually put on video of them beheading a little kid, the world would come and blow them out of the water. But right now, they're only beheading men. But when they start beheading women and kids, I think then the Marine Corps will step up.
Well, they're doing it. They're just smart enough not to put it on video. And I tell you, what a despicable group of dirtbags. I mean, those people are just unbelievable. You look at the eyes of those people. They just look like a bunch of Charles Mansons. I don't know how you can find such large groups of people that have a Charlie Manson look in their eye all the time. I mean, all the people I know that look like that are on PCP. Robert, what do you think's going on with these people?
Alex, I have no idea. Look, you know, I had a good friend who is Muslim. And I never met a man who hated so much. He's a good friend, but he hated Jews. And I kept asking him, I said, Saleh, how in the world can you hate somebody that much? You know, because I don't hate that much. And that's the question, is how could you go and do basically atrocities to your fellow human being and think you're doing it in the name of God? It is beyond my comprehension. So that's why I think we need to be stronger, but we also take different approaches and neutralize this ISIS threat.
Well, of course, and you know, the West helped set up ISIS to take out Syria. Now it's come back. It is a mess. You ready to take some phone calls, Robert?
Sure.
Let's do it. Mike in Virginia, you're on the air with our guest, the author of the new book, Second Chance. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I can't believe I got on. But anyway, yeah, I have a question. I have some silver. I have some gold. I got a lot of silver, let's put it that way, and some gold. My house has been paid for years ago, 20 years ago. What else could I do to help protect? You know what I mean?
That's a great question. You know, congratulations for having silver. I like silver personally. I love gold. I have a lot of gold and silver. And the difference is between your philosophy and my philosophy is I like debt. You see, the reason I teach people how to use debt is because debt is the new money. See, what happened after 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard? The dollar became debt. And so when the financial pundits are telling the poor middle class to get out of debt, what the rich are doing is using debt. Ask your banker this question. Does a banker want your savings? Or does he want you to borrow millions of dollars from him?
And this is simple, but it's also complex. There's different philosophies. I would either go with the pay for your house, but get one at a good bargain, stay in it forever, and then run entrepreneurial businesses and do things like that and come up with new products. Or you can go with the whole debt model and businesses, but you got to be smart, pretty darn smart, to go with your model. I think that's the only problem with your model, Robert, is that if you know what you're doing, it's the best model. It's what the insiders use, but the general public is going to get basically screwed over because they're not going to actually follow what you say. Try to explain it to people.
Well, amen. You said, if you don't have any financial education, don't do what I do. And the reason I wrote Second Chance, I got this in 3 parts: the past, the present, and the future. And again, there's pictures throughout the same whole thing so that your kids can understand it. But what you do is up to you. I learned my financial education began with my rich dad, who was my best friend's father, at age 9, teaching me to play Monopoly. And for about 30 years, we played Monopoly, adults. And today, as an adult, I play Monopoly as an adult. For the formula is 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So in 2007, when the markets crashed, unfortunately, millions were losing everything. Guys like me were going to the very banks that set up the crash and saying, would you give me a couple of $1 million to go do this? You see, what I'm saying in Second Chance is that all coins have 3 sides: heads, tails, and in the middle, which is intelligence. To stand on the edge is intelligent. And what you're saying, I agree exactly with you. is be intelligent. Hear what I'm saying, hear what you're saying, but ultimately it's up to you, the guy on the edge, that has to make up their own mind.